This is the ASUS ROG Strix G16 G614JZ gaming laptop, which I'll be reviewing today. It has a pretty impressive spec, so we'll see if this could be the perfect laptop for all your gaming and productivity needs, and I'll put it through its paces on my sim rig. Details are in the description below, including purchasing links. So let's jump right in and take a look at what you get inside the packaging, and if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. In the packaging, you get the laptop, which has a plastic cover on it. Removing that, then we have the power cable, which has a kettle connector. There's a large power adapter, and finally some documentation. Taking a closer look at the laptop, it has an Eclipse grey finish with the ROG logo and branding on the lid. It's easy to open with one finger as the top part of the lid sticks out just a little bit, plus it has a nice smooth motion opening and closing with a strong hinge. The keyboard is a good size with the ROG branding across it, but it doesn't have a number pad. The keys feel nice and soft with a clicky sound and have a 1.9mm travel distance, with 8 of the keys plus the spacebar being transparent. The keys are backlit, which can be changed to cycle through the different RGB colors by pressing down on function F4. There's also a light bar running along the bottom. The plastic is smooth and sturdy on the lid with only a little bit of flex, and the main area of the laptop, if you press down hard on the keys, there's only a little bit of flex there too. At the back of the laptop, it's a bit thicker. Underneath you have some vents with one spelt in ROG, and you have some rubber feet to give it an incline. Spec wise, it has a 13th gen Intel Core i7 13650HX processor with 14 cores consisting of 6 P cores and 8 E cores. There's 16 gigabytes of 4800 MHz DDR5 RAM, a 1TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD. There's 2 graphics cards, so an integrated card and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4080 GPU that has 12 gigs of memory with a MUX switch and NVIDIA Advanced Optimus, allowing you to switch between the graphics card depending on your performance needs. The screen has an IPS panel which is 16 inches in size. It's a full HD plus with a 16:10 aspect ratio, so 1920 by 1200, making it a widescreen ultra extended graphics array or WUXGA screen. It has a 720p camera and supports Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3. And if you're wondering in terms of price, for this spec it comes in at £2,100, but there are other configurations in the Strix G16, so check the link in the description below for other specs and prices. Upgrade wise, you have an additional M.2 slot, and it can support up to a 4TB drive on each side, and RAM can be upgraded to 32 gig. And weight wise, it comes in at around 2.5 kilograms. You have some more vents on the sides with the ports, which consists of a power input, a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet LAN port, a HDMI 2.1 port that can support 4K at 120Hz with G-Sync. There's 2 Type-C ports, with the left one being Thunderbolt 4 and the right one being USB 3.2 Gen 2. Then there's a headphone jack. Both Type-C ports offer DisplayPort support, so you can connect an external monitor to either, but the Thunderbolt 4 port always connects to the Intel integrated graphics, and the other Type-C port and HDMI always connects directly to the NVIDIA graphics card. On the other side, you have 2 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A ports. The IPS display has an anti-glare panel that's full HD, with the bezels around the screen being pretty thin, providing a wider screen display. It supports a 165Hz refresh rate and has a 100% DCI P3 with an sRGB of 100%. The colors and contrast levels are vibrant and sharp, so ideal for creative work like video editing or Photoshop. Brightness levels are good at 250 nits, with it supporting Dolby Vision, and the display doesn't wash out even in a bright room. Viewing angles are pretty good from all sides, with just a minimal reduction in quality when viewing at an angle, with minimal backlight bleed as you can see here. The overall clarity and sharpness of the screen is really good in comparison to a standard LCD. The laptop comes with Windows 11 Home and has ASUS's Armoury Crate software, allowing you to easily change CPU and GPU settings. On the GPU, there's Ultimate, Standard, Eco Mode and Optimized modes. And on the CPU, there's Windows, Silent, Performance, turbo and manual, where you can customize your own profile for the CPU and GPU. Adjustments here affect performance on both the CPU and GPU, which in turn will impact noise levels as the fan levels increase to keep the laptop cool. Changing the CPU is pretty quick and convenient with no reboot required, but with the GPU, if you change mode to ultimate, you'd have to reboot for the change to come into effect. On startup, by default, the laptop plays a boot up sound, which you can turn off via the Armoury Crate software or via the BIOS. Testing out the laptop with some gaming, and performance wise it's really good with the 13th gen Intel Core i7 processor and the Nvidia GeForce RTX 4080 GPU. With a 165Hz refresh rate on the screen, I've played a number of different games on it with the in-game graphics set to the highest value, and it performed really well with it being really smooth as it supports G-Sync. The display quality was quite impressive, giving excellent contrast levels, vibrant colors together with great brightness levels. Noise wise, to give you some examples, so with the CPU on turbo and GPU on ultimate, it was pretty loud, with the sound levels coming in at around 55 decibels, and with the CPU on silent and GPU on ultimate, it's a more acceptable 40 decibels, and finally with the CPU on silent and GPU on eco, it's around 35 decibels. But remember, these values take into account ambient noise in the room when I was taking these measurements. To give you some example FPS values, playing some games, so playing Fortnite with a CPU on turbo and GPU on ultimate, I was getting 135 frames per second. Reducing the CPU to silent and the GPU to ultimate, I saw around 90 frames per second. Onto Apex, with the CPU on turbo and GPU on ultimate, I was getting around 120 frames per second. Reducing the CPU to silent and the GPU to ultimate, I saw around 90 frames per second. Now in terms of response time with the screen, I wouldn't say it's the best at 7 milliseconds, but you could connect the laptop to an external screen to enhance the gaming experience even further. So here I've connected it to my LG OLED G3, which has an insane 0.1 millisecond response time, and I've connected it via the built-in HDMI 2.1 port on the laptop, and I've also turned on HDR. The picture quality on this is absolutely stunning, giving an excellent experience at 4K 120Hz. And at this resolution on Fortnite, I was getting 100 frames per second on max settings in the game, together with the CPU and GPU being on max. Even switching over and connecting it up directly to my sim cockpit from Track Racer, and my TV is the LG C1 OLED with my Phonetic DD2 racing wheel and Club Sport pedals V3. It coped perfectly with Assetto Corsa Competizione, with graphics on high and the CPU and GPU on max. I was getting 90 frames per second on average, giving a great racing experience, with the racing experience being smooth and responsive, making it perfect for all your gaming needs due to the power it has. And worth noting, at max performance, the cooling did a great job in keeping the laptop cool when it was pushed to its limits. I also performed a benchmark test on the CPUs using Cinebench R23, and the results were quite positive, with a single core CPU test coming in at number 1 and with the multi-core test coming in at number 3 in the ranking. So really impressive. On to general usage, the keyboard is nice and comfortable to work from, with ample space on the laptop for your wrists, with it having a nice large trackpad. The backlit keyboard is good to work from, especially if you're using it in the evening, but I did find the letters on the transparent keys slightly difficult to see at times in a dark room. The built-in webcam doesn't have a privacy cover, but you do see a light come on to indicate the webcam is active. It has a 720p resolution, with the quality being just okay, but nothing amazing, I'd say. Text clarity is good when working on documents, and the screen is more than adequate for creative work using Adobe Premiere and Photoshop. And no surprise, streaming on here with Netflix or YouTube worked perfectly fine, with the screen being more than adequate to give a good experience. Battery life wise, panel power saver is enabled by default, which automatically lowers the screen's refresh rate to 60Hz when you unplug the charger, and you'll notice the screen flashes black briefly as the refresh rate changes, and it goes back to 165Hz when you plug the power back in. Battery life was okay, not impressive, with it lasting around 4.5 to 5 hours in a YouTube video playback test, and around 1 hour and 50 minutes while gaming. There's 2 speakers located at the front of the laptop that face downwards and supports Dolby Atmos. They aren't bad with clear sound, but they are very tinny with no bass at higher volume levels. They wouldn't replace having a good headset, but okay for general use. Have a listen to this to hear for yourself.
There's also a built-in mic, and my voice that you're currently hearing is the quality to expect from it, with me talking around 40 centimeters away from the microphone.
So in summary, the ASUS STRIX G16 G614JZ is a pretty impressive laptop, powerful enough to cover both your gaming and productivity needs with ease, making it the perfect choice if you're after an all-round laptop with a great build quality that's strong and sturdy. It has a great screen quality, with it having a HDMI 2.1 port that's capable of outputting 4K at 120Hz with ease. At maximum performance, the cooling did a great job in keeping the laptop cool to provide an excellent gaming experience. And the RGB lighting on the keyboard and around the laptop looked really good. Negatives wise, with a laptop on max performance settings, it was quite noisy, which is not really a surprise for a gaming laptop. Battery performance wise, I'd say it was okay, nothing amazing, and the keyboard RGB backlighting was good, although at times it was difficult seeing the letters on the transparent keys when it was dark in the room, but nevertheless this is an awesome laptop with great performance. So there you have it, you come to the end of another video, and I hope it's helped anyone thinking of purchasing this. Details are in the description below, including purchasing links. If you have any questions on this, then let me know in the comments below. For those of you who got to the end of this video, please leave a comment with STRIX G16, as it's nice to see who's got to the end of my video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You can follow me on my socials, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to be notified of my next release. Thanks for viewing, and see you in the next one.